Am I the a-hole for leaving my own wedding because my husband embarrassed me? Plus update. I and my husband have been together for 3 years. In those 3 years I have never have known him to be selfish, occasionally immature yes, but even that was rare. These problems arose when those stupid cake smashing videos got popular and my husband thought they were hilarious. I've never thought they were funny and he knows that, yet he was always showing me the videos of those poor wives getting the happiest day of their life ruined by their a-hole partner for some cheap laughs. He also knows I have a history with cake smashing. My family does the cake smashing thing. I remember it was my 17th birthday and I pleaded with my mom to not do it. She promised and I trusted her. I had my hair and makeup done up all nice and right as I blew out my candles my mom pushed my head into the cake and one of the decorations on the cake ended up slicing my forehead. Not enough to go to the hospital but enough for some substantial bleeding. My birthday was ruined and after I wouldn't come out my room. My mom still calls me a brat for that. I told him if he ever did something like that to me I'd leave him. He started laughing but I was being for real. Though he really was not taking me seriously. Now skip to a few days ago when my wedding happened. Everything was perfect, I was happy, he was happy. I was excited for our new lives as newlyweds. I felt like a princess in my puffy white dress and done up hair with perfect makeup. All very expensive things I would like to mention. We get to the cake cutting part and as I turn to him he scoops up a huge chunk of our wedding cake and smashes it all over my face. Everything just seemed to go in slow motion for a few moments. He's just laughing at me, and then says you should see your face and continues to laugh. Other people in the crowd, mostly my family, is also laughing at me. Then I just start walking away, he realizes that I'm leaving and tries to catch up with me and says I'm being extra. I push him away and order an Uber. As I got outside most of the crowd is following me telling me to come back. I get into the Uber and drive away. I drove to our apartment and packed most of my things and went to stay at a hotel. I currently though am staying at a friend's house. My family and his family has been blowing up my phone for days. Saying I'm being childish and my husband is a good man and it was just a joke. My husband has been calling me off the hook telling me to please come home and that he wants to talk. That he's sorry and didn't think I'd get that emotional. This was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives and he embarrassed me in front of everyone for some prank that he knew I hated. Not only that, he ruined a $500 cake. He ruined my makeup, my hair and the top of my dress. The cake got all over. Though I still do love him and I'm wondering if I really was too hard on him, that seems to be everyone else's opinion. Update, I decided to speak to him bright and early this morning. I'm leaving him. Some of you might be happy about that and some of you might not be. I decided to call him and get his reasoning for why he did what he did. He told me he just thought it was a funny prank and that if it was at the wedding on a happy day that he could change my mind. Plus since it was a tradition in my family that I wasn't following, he thought that he could get points with my family. Then told me he's sorry that I took it as a disrespect. I told him he shouldn't be saying that he's sorry that I took it that way. He should be apologizing for hurting me. Where is the I'm sorry? I told him he hasn't apologized with accountability once. All his apologies have been backhanded. I also reminded him that I didn't have a good relationship with most of my family nor my mother who he forced me to invite. I told him he knew I was already the black sheep of my family and the verbal abuse and public humiliation I received by my mother for years really messed with me and he knew that. Then he says this. Why should I have to apologize because you can't take a joke? I blew up. I told him, are you serious? If it was me who hurt you to this degree, the first thing I'd do is apologize. Well, you can't even force yourself to be decent for a few seconds and just apologize to me. I also told him that he was trying to get in good with a family who abused me by public humiliating me and that is something that is unforgivable. Marriage means you stick by me, yet you showed you obviously do not. It's not about you ruining my dress or my hair or even the cake, it's about how you knew how I felt about this and the trauma I had connected and you didn't care. He then tried doubling down and saying it wasn't his fault for not apologizing because my family was telling him how dramatic I was and how I was hurting them by leaving the wedding for a joke. He said he loves me and he doesn't want to break up over this nonsense and that I should just come home. I told him I wasn't coming home and it wasn't even about the cake anymore, it's because I cannot be with a man who won't apologize when he's wrong and who gaslights their significant other into receiving the blame. He started cursing me out at this point, but after about a minute of hearing him scream at me I hung up. I guess he started telling my family because within a half an hour my phone was blowing up again. The worst ones had to be from my mother and his sister. My mother was telling me I'm going to end up alone because I can't take jokes and I'll never be able to keep a man with my attitude. Even saying that my clock is running out fast and when it did no one will want me and I'll be alone. His sister was telling me that I'm a disgusting B-word for hurting his brother and wasting his time. That she wishes that he would have broken up with me 2 years ago when he first wanted to. So now I know he wanted to break up with me. What I also know is that he was cheating on me for 6 months with his ex who wanted him back, but then she dropped him because he stayed with me. The thing is, I had a good relationship with his sister and she knew he was cheating on me? I guess she put everything out on the table since I was leaving anyway. I blocked most of my family and I blocked all of his family. I also blocked him and I'm getting the annulment. My friend said I could stay with her for a few months till I get back on my feet. I told her I really appreciate it. So yeah, that's the end. I'm crying while typing this. I wasted 3 years on a man who never really cared about me. I've lost what little relationship I had with my family and now I only have the few friends I have been blessed with. I'm going to have to pick up the rest of my stuff. I also told him before I blocked him, if he broke anything of mine I would bring it to court.
Next story.
Am I the jerk for wanting to divorce my pregnant wife because she refused to abort our disabled baby? My 35 male, wife, 35 female, and I found out that our baby would have Down syndrome. Apparently the tests are more than 90% accurate or something. To say I was crushed is an understatement. My wife and I have been married 11 years yet even though I was ready at 24, and was willing to compromise by waiting 3 to 4 years, she insisted on waiting until we were 31 and she had gotten promoted to start trying. We tried for 3 years before the miracle baby happened. Except it's not going to be some miracle. The baby's life was going to be a nightmare for itself as well as for his or her parents. Funny thing is I grew up Southern Baptist, born in Mississippi, and I am still very involved with the Southern Baptist community here in Nevada where my wife and I have lived for our entire marriage. Between the two of us, my wife is actually the one who is very much pro-choice. Yet I thought about abortion and I thought regardless of religious implications, I'd choose it if the child was disabled. When it would probably be bullied, need years of expensive medical care and other developmental assistance, and require that one or both parents sideline their careers to take care of him or her. After the diagnosis, my wife grieved but then got out of bed and said the child would be loved, and we would make it work. She told me her plan to either go part-time or even take a much lower-paying job, to read all the books, find all the support groups and resources, get a therapist.
Next story.
Am I the a-hole for kicking my son out after he made fun of our daughter's death? My 16-year-old daughter passed away 7 months ago in a car accident. The other driver was speeding and weaving in and out of traffic like a maniac on the highway, which ultimately ended up hitting my baby girl. The driver lost his life on impact, while she suffered a little longer and passed away 6 hours later in the hospital due to her injuries. My wife and I attend individual therapy, as well as marriage counseling in order to cope with the loss of our daughter. Although it's been extremely hard for both of us, we've made considerable progress given the circumstances. We have begged our son to get therapy and join us for family therapy, but he's refused. He's 19 and in college, so we can't necessarily force him to go. Our therapist gave us a list of warning signs to watch out for, but he seemed to be coping well with the loss, so we decided it would be best to let him grieve in his own way. My wife discovered a video through a repost that had gone viral on TikTok and it was created by our son. The video was captioned with "before and after getting my driver's license," showing a picture of his sister's school portrait, sliding to a picture of her gravestone and totaled car that was taken after the accident. The video had over 3,000 comments and every comment I saw was extremely messed up. We found our son's account which had more than one video like this. There was another video captioned "us then versus now," which had a baby photo of them and then cut to a selfie of him next to her hospital bed moments before she passed away. There were a total of 5 different posts on his account similar to this, with each getting progressively worse. My wife didn't handle these videos well and ended up having a severe mental breakdown. I had to take her to the ER so she could be sedated and given fluids due to her vomiting and hyperventilating. I confronted my son, who defended himself saying he uses these videos to cope with her death, explaining that dark humor is the way he grieves, but I could barely look at him. I told him to pack his things and stay with his grandparents for the time being. He became angry and said we both needed to move the F on instead of taking our grief out on him. It's been 2 weeks and my wife doesn't want to be anywhere near our son anytime soon. Stumbling across these videos felt like taking 10 giant steps backwards from how far we'd come in our grieving process. Our son's absence was supposed to be temporary, but my wife and I think it's time for him to move into an off-campus student apartment in order to give us all some space and establish boundaries. We haven't told him yet, but we plan to when he returns home next week. While he was away, he apologized in a text to both my wife and I. However, he still insists it wasn't wrong for him to post those videos publicly for millions of people to see. He believes we're being too dramatic and taking things too personally when that's not how he intended them to be. It took me threatening to disown him before he finally took down the videos. A few of my friends think we've gone too far by essentially abandoning him and kicking him out of our home. They told us to keep in mind that he's still a stupid kid digging in his heels because he wants attention. We'll be paying his rent, but he'll have to cover the other costs himself, such as food and gas, since that's the most we can afford right now. He'll have to get a part-time job while going to class. We still love our son, but neither of us can handle what he's done right now for the sake of our marriage and mental health. Honestly, I think I need to put my wife first here, and if that means he needs to leave, then I'll do that for her. He's also turning 20 soon, so it's not exactly like he's a child. Am I the a-hole?
Next story.
Am I the jerk for wanting to break up with my girlfriend after finding out the truth? I, 30 male, and my girlfriend, 29 female, have been dating for 2 years now. I recently took my girlfriend on a getaway weekend, nothing fancy, just a 4-day weekend to the Hilton Hotel, Going on fun outings, she mentioned she wanted to do like ice skating, dancing, painting, and other fun activities. I am in love with this beautiful woman. Before we started dating, we worked at the same job together and had been friends for a long time. I soon grew a crush on her because she was so cool to talk to and be around. I was also friends with her ex-boyfriend. They'd been broken up for a year or two by the time I started liking her, and I wanted to ask the ex-boyfriend, since we were friends, would it be okay if I asked her on a date? He said absolutely and had no problems with me and her possibly dating one another. A day later, I asked her to a drive-in theater movie, and she said yes. After that first movie date, we made the drive-in theater our weekend thing, and we would also go out to eat or to comic conventions and anywhere we spent time together. One day I wanted to make it official, so I asked her if she would like to be my girlfriend. She said she wanted to remain just friends, and although hurt a little, I was absolutely fine with her decision. We still continued our weekend movie nights and outings. But every once in a while, she would show signs that she liked me. She wouldn't let anyone else talk to me, or if I mentioned a girl I thought was cute, she would say under her breath, "She better stay away from my man." A few weeks later, she quit the job we worked at together and found a new job, but we would still hang out on the weekends. One day, I saw her on a date with someone while I was out running errands, and of course, I didn't approach them. So I stopped inviting her to our weekend hangouts without telling her why, and she didn't mind because her attention was on the other guy.
Next story.
Am I the jerk for breaking up with my pregnant girlfriend because I don't want to be a father? I, 25 male, had been with my now ex, 23 female, for a little over 3 months. I always made sure we used lots of precaution when making love. She was on birth control and I always used protection. I wanted to avoid a child. I have known for a long time that I do not want children. I find them annoying and they would severely limit my ability to do the things I enjoy, traveling, outdoor stuff, etc. Unfortunately for me, my ex didn't have her period when she was supposed to, and it turns out she's now pregnant. She came to me and told me she was pregnant. The first thing I did was suggest an abortion. We don't live in a state where it's legal, so I offered to pay for her flight and hotel and told her I'd be happy to come with her to get it done. I have a stable job and make good money, so it wouldn't be too much of a hit for me. She works as a receptionist and doesn't make a lot, so I figured it would be better for me to pay. That's when she told me she was hoping to keep it and that she wanted me to help her raise the kid as its father. I have no intention of being a father, beyond just my dislike of children. I'm not ready for that. I made it very clear that I didn't want the baby, but she kept insisting that I'd have a change of heart once it's born and to just try it out.
Update.
After a long exchange, I told her that if she intended to keep the baby, I would not act as a father. I broke up with her and told her that I would pay child support once it's born, but that I expect her to respect my wishes and keep the child away from me. Since then she's been frantically texting me, begging me to come back and telling me she'd forgive me. She sent me voicemails crying. It does hurt to see, but I haven't responded. The other day she texted me saying how she can't raise the kid alone and how I'm basically forcing her to get the abortion just by leaving. She called me a jerk, an abuser, and a sexist. She ended the text begging me to talk again. I certainly feel crappy. I really liked her and we had a good relationship before this, but I just don't want to be a father. I'm already bitter about the fact that I'll have to pay child support for 18 years, which will somewhat limit me financially. I also feel it isn't right for a parent who doesn't want their child to be involved. I just end up taking that pent-up anger and bitterness out on the child who is ultimately innocent, which I feel isn't right. With all this said, I come here to ask, am I the jerk? I certainly feel like one, but I also stand by what I did.
Next story.
Am I the asshole for telling my in-laws I will not be changing the name of my bakery just because they work there? The bakery was originally my parents' bakery, my mom's more specifically. Dad worked there but Mom ran the whole thing and she was the driving force behind it. The bakery was named something with Son in it. When my parents had me 4 years later, they named me Sonny. My mom had a very complicated pregnancy and delivery and I was going to be their only child. So they named me after the bakery. I always loved the connection and it was especially meaningful because my mom died when I was 7. Dad kept it running with help, so I could take it over one day if I wanted to, so Mom's legacy never died. He got sick when I was 16. It was tough. He fought as long as he could, but he died when I was 18 and I took over the bakery. I baked from a really young age and dreamed of running it one day. So I took over as the head baker and have kept it open myself for a decade now. In that time I met and married my wife Lila. She started working there and her mom and sister also joined the small team we have. It was going well until a few months ago. We were at Lila's parents' house, her whole family was there, and they brought up how the name for the bakery feels wrong when the family has changed so much. Lila told them the bakery is still mine and given the history and who named it, they shouldn't think they would get a say in any of it. It was dropped for a while. Then they brought it up again. Lila again reminded them that it was none of their business. Lila is expecting our first child now and she hasn't been working as much, or at all these last couple of months, and I have noticed some comments here and there from mother-in-law especially about darling bakery names or how nice businesses names are when they tell you it's a family-run thing. I would internally roll my eyes but smile and say those were great names for those people's businesses. Clearly she got annoyed because then her and my sister-in-law cornered me recently and told me that they felt like they had such a big part in it, which they don't, that the name should reflect the family and not just me or what my mom had wanted to call it. I told them I will not be changing the name just because they work there, and if that is a problem, there is no reason for them to force themselves to stay if they don't want to. Both told me they do want to work there and told me I was twisting what they said, that they just want to feel more included and like this is their family business too. Mother-in-law told me that unless we plan on naming our child some son-related name, it's just going to be a random name in the future. I pointed out many businesses are that. But they told me I was being deliberately obtuse. Am I the asshole?
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.